Hi, welcome to the What If Podcast. Your host tonight gonna be spanked or whatnot, and ran cramper snap.
Hey, Ran.
DJ Ran Cramper Snap fucking up your earballs. Happy Tuesday of Thanksgiving week, everybody.
Yeah.
Spencer, name one thing you're thankful for.
I'm thankful for people that send weird shit to our P.O. box.
Oh, it's lit. We got some new goods.
Yeah.
Goods in service. No, you can't send services in the mail. That's not how the mail works.
You could send us a contract.
I guess.
We'll sign it and mail back to you depending on what it says.
Depending on what you'd like us to do.
Yeah.
What do we got?
You can just send
happened?
us an envelope full of money if you want.
That would be a good.
We could use that.
We could use that.
I got some ideas for that.
If you got a sack of cash laying around, holla at your sweary boys.
Just saying. Consider it an investment.
An investment in, that's funding our fuckery right
you
there.
could write it off on your taxes depending on how ethical you are or aren't.
I don't think that.
I'm not saying you could legally do that, but you could do that.
I donated
if you feel
to
like breaking the law and committing tax fraud.
Our poor, sad, sweary boys needed
we're
some
sort
help.
of a charity case.
Wow. Without even blinking, we're a charity case.
You got your chair back? You thankful for that shit?
Oh, I'm so thankful for my chair.
Is your butt comfy?
My butt's comfy. You know what it was? My back is comfy.
You got the proper support?
I'm a big man, and I was in a very low, squishy couch, and I felt like I was basically just tipping over backwards that whole episode.
No bueno.
Now I feel like I've got the lumbar support required for me to be good at my job. No, I'm not good at my job. For me to be okay.
Your job or this job?
This job. Okay at this. Okay at this talking on a microphone thing. We're thankful for you. Hi, everybody. It's the What If Podcast.
Hey.
Happy Turkey Day.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
I mean, it's mostly fuck that holiday, but hang out with people you like.
That's the one. Yeah.
Give money to small businesses owned by women and people of color. And,
there we go.
You know.
Yeah.
Tell your uncle that he's racist if he's being racist.
If you gotta.
Calls him like you sees him.
Calls him like you sees him. And you know what? Everybody's going to be better for it on the other side.
Yep.
We had one voicemail that I kind of wanted to play this week.
Oh, sure.
Do you have our voicemails up?
No, but I can in just a second. Do you know which one it was or how I could go about finding the specific one you're looking for?
I don't know how to say it without saying it. It was a short one.
Or
I can do
could
this.
you tell me the phone number perhaps that it came from? Or
yes.
Not the whole thing, ideally.
Yes.
Or how recently it was, perhaps?
It was within the last couple of days, few days.
Okay, give me the area code. I'll see if I can find the one you're talking about.
No, I didn't have it up either. Now
this is this is just perfect.
I've made a terrible mistake.
Can you tell me what it was about without ruining the story?
No.
Oh, this is a good bit we've got going here.
Oh God. These are the moments where I wish I could pause the show and come back.
I mean, we technically can, but I don't really like editing. It's no fun.
I know, and also you guys like it when we fail and you can make fun of us.
Let's see. Somebody wants us to do an episode on Mike the Headless Chicken. We sort of did.
Yeah, I don't know if it was
on
full...
no, I think it was on the Patreon. Somebody who fell asleep on the floor?
That's the one.
Okay.
That's the one.
Hi. I just fell asleep on the floor.
Yep.
And when I woke up, the last couple moments of a dream were replaying in my head, and it was Spencer telling Ryan that all hallucinogens were made in North America.
False.
So if y'all could keep your bullshit out of my dreams, that would be great. I'm going to go have some coffee.
Sorry? I don't know if this was the case here, but I definitely wouldn't recommend listening to us around bedtime or while falling asleep.
I love that we are so stupid on the show sometimes that someone dreamed us being stupid.
That it ruined someone's sleep.
I just thought it was, and then she was just like, I'm going to go have some coffee. Bye.
Fuck you guys. Dude,
if you want to leave us a voicemail, it's 612-246-4614.
Since I just plug podcasts at the beginning of our podcast now.
Why not?
I was listening to this show called Radio Rental the other day.
Okay.
And it's great. People tell their own like weird, creepy, spooky stories.
Ooh, fun.
But it's set in this like there's this guy who runs a video store, and as the listener, you are like a customer in this old school video store.
Interesting.
And he like puts in a weird curated VHS tape for you, and then each one is one of these stories.
Oh,
It's kind of a funny bit.
I get it.
It's what's the guy's name? Whatever. It's some famous actor dude, but I never remember any actors' names.
Sure.
But I was listening to it as I fell asleep the other night, and it was this story about a guy who ran into a doppelganger of his girlfriend.
Ooh, creepy.
And has like video and physical evidence of two of this person existing like simultaneously.
That's not.
I mean, it's probably made up. Who knows? But, anyway, I fell asleep while listening to it and had just taken some melatonin because I'd been having trouble sleeping the prior few nights.
Been taking a lot of melatonin lately. That shit'll fuck your dreams.
See, I took melatonin
up.
for the first time ever before putting this podcast on and then falling asleep. And boy, did I have some weird ones that night. I was not aware that melatonin gave you freaky ass dreams.
Yeah, because it helps you get into your REM sleep faster and deeper. Ooh. So you're in it. You're in your brain after that one.
All the way in there.
It's Rainn Wilson.
Yes.
From The Office.
That's the one.
Yeah, that's
fun. It's a fun show.
It sounds like a great show, one, and two, it sounds like you probably had some super fucked up dreams.
Yep, sure did. But the Doppelgangers episode is especially fun. I think it's episode 2 or something.
Sweet. They're fucked up when he's like, yep, not going to tell you about what those dreams were. They were just pretty fucked up. Moving on.
Should we talk about heists? We got a heist this week.
So I just want to start off by saying I have been pretty clear, I think particularly on recent episodes, but like I've said it once, I'll say it a million times. I love me a good grift. In this fucking episode,
it's an epic one.
It is the most epic of these guys were like, hey, you know what would be cool if we just did Ocean's 11? Like, but actually,
what year did that movie come out?
It's a great question.
Because I bet it was around the same time as this heist, which happened in 2003.
Wouldn't it be awesome if these guys were so inspired by Ocean's 11? They were like, 2001, man. Okay. 2001.
Well,
it doesn't exactly fit with the timeline, but
it's sort of.
I mean, didn't he rent that? Well, we'll get there.
Yeah. Also, the rights to the story were optioned to some movie studio,
and we almost got a J.J. Abrams movie out of it,
dude.
Which would have been so fire.
Yeah. Anyway,
there's still time. We're going
to be talking about what is usually referred to as the Antwerp diamond heist.
I love it so much.
Because it took place in the Antwerp diamond district in Belgium between 2000 and 2003, basically.
Yeah, started in, I guess started is a weird word. Who knows when the idea popped into the heads, but...
Yeah, so... I'm trying to figure out quick background on the Antwerp area or the diamond district of Antwerp, Belgium.
Yes. Antwerp.
It's about a 3-block square area that up until 2012, 84% of the world's rough diamonds passed through this district at some point, between being mined and ending up in stores. So
that's so wild.
De Beers, who controls the majority of the world's diamond supply,
mines and supply, yeah.
Yeah. This was typically their first, I guess, drop off of their diamonds that they had mined.
Yeah. And that's for like sizing, appraisal, cutting,
selling directly to dealers of all kinds.
Yeah, also selling in mass to other people who do those exact same things.
So there's this 3-square block district in Belgium where 84% of the world's diamond supply passed through.
Which I can't even begin to try to put a dollar amount on, but I bet it's really big.
Well, they did an annual turnover, which I don't exactly I don't know exactly what that term means.
Turnover?
Yeah. Is that like amount of money passing through?
Yeah, because I would imagine there's like an amount that is put there and then stored there. So I'd imagine turnover would be like comes in and goes
Total
out.
value passing through.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Goes out probably.
That number is $54 billion annually. Or it was.
That's too many dollars.
I think that number is from 2003 when this heist happened.
Got it. So it's probably significantly more at this point now.
Well, in 2012, a lot of this was like redistributed throughout the world. So it is not currently the
epicenter that it once was.
Yeah. So anyway, there were in 2003 380 workshops working for 1,500 different companies and 3,500 brokers, merchants, and diamond cutters working in this 3 square block area.
It's like the garment district in LA, but it's just way more expensive stuff.
Yeah. Also, 80% of Antwerp's Jewish population works in the diamond trade.
Got it.
Or worked. Again, this is as of 2003.
Got it.
And Yiddish was actually the primary language of the diamond exchange at the time.
Damn, that's wild.
Yeah. And it also meant that no business was conducted on Saturdays.
Oh, right. Makes sense.
Yeah. Which will be important later.
That is the Sabbath.
Yeah. So there was a guy named Leonardo Notar Bartolo who was sort of a career-long thief.
A miscreant, if you will.
I'm not familiar with that term.
It's a good word.
Okay.
Miscreant.
Definition, please.
What is a miscreant? It's just like
language of origin, please.
Please. Miscreant is just like a little shithead. Like just
this guy. I mean, we gotta give him a little more credit than that.
Yeah,
he
no,
made a
like
goddamn career out of this shit.
No, but like troublemaker, like just like you're fucking shit up for others. No,
Yeah.
I have to actually. God,
That's fine.
It's ridiculous that I can use that word in a sentence, and then you tell me to define it, and I'm like, yeah, a person who behaves badly or in a way that breaks the law.
Yeah, okay. He broke the law plenty of times, primarily through stealing things that didn't belong to him.
Yeah,
that's how stealing works.
He started when he was a kid, and throughout his life stole everything from cars to fucking straight up monies to other jewelry and diamonds. And
so in 2000, Notar Bartolo, he was an Italian fellow, opened or rented an office in the Diamond District in Antwerp, specifically in the Antwerp Diamond Center.
Yes.
And his reason for this was to gain access to and information about the goings-on in the Diamond District in hopes of pulling off some sort of heist eventually.
And we don't know, or it's not clear from everything I've seen, maybe you have a different story. It's not clear whether or not he had this specific planned in mind, or the heist that we're going to talk about, the specific heist in mind when he did that, or if it was just like, I'm going to centralize myself in a way where I will hang out enough until an opportunity arises.
I think he was stealing jewels and gems and valuables in other parts of the world as well. And this district is notorious for lots of under the table, off the books dealings as well. So it was also an opportunity for him to sell stolen goods without the scrutiny that he would be subject to in other parts of the world.
Yeah, because it said that he had a semi legitimate like trading business of his own as it relates to diamonds while he was in there.
So yeah,
it's just that he was also using it as an opportunity to essentially case the whole neighborhood.
Yeah, so he rented an office in this Antwerp Diamond Center, which he chose specifically because one of the largest diamond vaults in the world is in the basement of this building.
Yeah, it's 2 floors below street level. It's centrally located in the area. One thing I don't think you mentioned about the Diamond District that I found fascinating was that it has its own private police force.
Yeah.
Which is essentially...
They have some cute name, too. They're like the Diamond Dogs or the...
Oh, that's fantastic if it is. I didn't see that. But they essentially...
Gem Guys, or it's something goofy.
Gem
It's neither of those things, but they have their own name for like their police force.
I love it. Apparently, they rent it essentially from like all of the people who work out of the Diamond District pay some sort of tax that goes to the Belgian government. Yeah, it totally is. And then they rent basically police officers from Antwerp, the city of Antwerp, to actually monitor the area.
Contract is the word.
You're probably right.
Renting people is usually frowned upon.
Yeah. And then also something I found fascinating too was that whole area is, I don't know what the word would be. It's sort of cordoned by these street areas where there are metal poles that can be triggered via the police. That essentially you hit a button and these posts rise up out of the ground as a way of stopping any traffic in and out.
Yeah. No, it's some...
It's intense.
Yeah, like futuristic, post-apocalyptic shit almost.
Yeah,
like
Fort Knox shit.
Yeah, everybody walking around with guns and people actually walking around with briefcases handcuffed to their wrist and stuff.
So tight. I love it.
So anyway, Leonardo rents this office in the Antwerp Diamond Center, and he is, quote-unquote, legitimately doing business out of there, although it sounds like some or all of the things he's selling were probably stolen, but he's buying things, gems and diamonds, usually or always in cash, usually smaller items, not doing any like big business, but
no. And his rent there was super cheap. It was like the equivalent of $700 a month,
which seems crazy that would be available. But
I mean, I would imagine. I mean, if you're talking about this district center building looked like it's not a skyscraper by any means, but it's a decent sized building. And if you're renting out, 700 square feet, that's essentially like a place with a desk to meet people with like a shared bathroom on the floor. Like, I guess I could see how that would be.
I would just think that the demand versus the supply there would require higher rents, but apparently not.
Yeah.
Also, it was, 16 years ago now, I suppose.
Right.
So anyway, he's there for about a year before he's approached by another diamond dealer who says, "I have a question for you. Can we take a walk and talk about something?" And most of the information we're getting about these specific details actually come from Notar Bartolo himself. He did an interview with Wired, I don't know, like 10 years ago now or something,
yeah.
9 or 10 years ago.
Came out in 2009.
When he was in jail. And so a lot of this story that we're going to be retelling is...
Spoiler alert.
is his version of it.
Yes.
That hasn't necessarily been independently verified by anyone else.
Yeah, the story is Nick Waplington wrote it, and he's a good writer.
Yeah, no, the article
really well
is
written.
great. I totally trust him and his reporting.
No,
I'm just
for
saying
sure.
it's all coming from one source, and it is the person who is in jail for this crime.
Yes. And also there's some very interesting
there may be some ulterior motives
caveats
at
there
play.
that we'll talk about at the end. Yeah.
So anyway, he claims that in 2001, this diamond dealer came to him and said, "Is it possible to break into the vault in the basement of the Antwerp Diamond Center?"
And he said, LOL.
Yeah, he said, absolutely not, was his first response. Like, I've been essentially casing it for the last year and a half, and there's no way. It's too well protected. It is guarded. There are cameras. There is a 3-ton vault door.
Yep. Well, and not only casing it, but in his semi-legitimate business, as he is procuring, however he's procuring things from other places and selling and trading them out of his own space, the vault itself is a shared vault of all of the diamond distributors in that building and beyond.
It can be. He had a safe deposit box in that vault.
That's what I mean, is like, if you're in there, you have an equivalent space.
I don't know if you like necessarily did, because there were only like 180 of them, but he had one.
Okay. I guess the way I read it was there were 180 separate offices in that space, and like their vault like corresponded with this is your, when it's not in your office space and you need to stash it, this is the stash spot.
So yeah, he did have regular access to the vault because he had a safe deposit box in the vault. And
moved in and out of it freely, right? Because he's running his business out of there. So he's like, hey, I got to bring down, a couple $100,000 in diamonds. Okay, cool, come on down. And then, dumping stuff off or picking stuff up to go sell it or whatever it might be. So he knows it well.
So he tells this unnamed diamond dealer, there's no way. And the diamond dealer says, here's $100,000 to prove to me that
there's no way.
You can't. So he, in some like truly Mission Impossible spy shit.
I love it.
The next couple times he goes to the vault, brings this little tiny digital camera in the shape of a pen with him, clips it into the front pocket of his shirt, and takes some very specific photos.
Yeah, he it was an HD camera that took or could store roughly 100 photos. And one of the things that I was thinking about was, reading the article, I was like, this happened in leading up to 2003, so 2001, 2002.
He says it was 2001 when the dealer approached him about breaking into the vault.
So some month or months roughly after that.
Yeah, late 2001.
Yeah, I mean, like, I got my first digital camera as a gift for, like, I think it was my 16th birthday. I got my first digital camera, and I turned 16 in 2003. And in 2003, a digital camera was large, pretty expensive,
and shitty.
And the megapixels you could get out of like a $500.
Yeah. No, it wasn't great.
It was like 1.5 megapixels.
I got a BFA in photography between 2004 and 2008, and we were not required to take any digital photos. I learned entirely on film.
Sure.
Even as late as 2008 in like a university BFA setting.
Sure. Yeah.
We shot negatives and scanned them because digital photography was still so trash in the mid 2000s.
So that was it. That was the first detail in the story where I was like, huh. All right.
But you got to consider too, like what's commercially available versus what's actually available.
Sure. And also what's available to you if you have diamond dealer money.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm sure if you're willing to go black market, if you're willing to spend a bunch of money, you could have found, like, the technology conceptually has existed a lot longer.
Sure. It's just not like on
you couldn't
the
walk
market,
into Best Buy and buy a 20 megapixel spy camera pen.
Totally. But it's just like
they probably existed.
Yeah. I guess it's just, to me, it was like, this is the first extraordinary detail of this story.
There will be many more.
And there are many more.
So what he photographed specifically were the, I guess, mechanical defense mechanisms in place in and around the vault. And there were many.
And the layout in general. Like, to get an idea of the size, the space, the distances between things, etc.
Yeah. So, yeah, I guess because you got to figure out how you're getting in and out and all that kind of stuff too.
Right.
And, so the door itself to this vault I don't remember the exact number, maybe you have it in your notes, but it's several tons. It's like it's like
3 tons.
3 tons, and it's like a foot thick steel door.
Yeah, and there's photos online. It looks thicker than, like, it says they say it was a foot thick. It looks thicker than a foot too.
Okay. And in addition, there's a combination lock with 4 separate dials, like 4 digits, each 0 to 99.
Well,
which
one dial, but you got to turn it 4 times and put one number from 0 to 99 in 4 times.
Yeah.
But yes.
So there are, like, whatever that is, millions of possible combinations.
It's like 100 million different combinations that you could possibly put in.
There is a keyed lock with a one-of-a-kind foot-long key.
Which doesn't even compute, but
I'm assuming that makes it significantly harder to duplicate.
Yeah, the way I gather is it's like a really long password.
Sure.
You know,
But I'm
if
saying
there's
even to
only
manufacture a foot-long key, you can't go like cut it in a traditional.
Oh yeah.
You have to make it in an entirely different process.
No, for sure. I had a buddy that was super into lockpicking in high school, and like just the whole
I
concept
feel
of
like we all did, right?
yeah, there was
And then the one kid who really liked to burn stuff or like loved fireworks a little bit too much.
yeah.
Maybe these are just white people problems. But
Sometimes it was the same kid, and you're like, hey, we should stop being friends with Danny.
Yeah, your parents were right about that kid.
But yeah,
He's
like
really into hunting too.
man.
All right, never mind.
No, I was just gonna say, but like that friend taught me about like the concept of tumblers in a lock and how you have to essentially depress all of the tumblers to get it to actually allow for the tension to twist it.
Yeah.
And I think the other thing about it being super long is if you got to get to a tumbler in the back of a foot long thing, the thing you would need to get the tension to get to that thing and then turn the whole thing would be like,
Has to be really big.
yeah, you'd have to have like a fucking golf club. Like
Right,
it would be
right.
ridiculous.
Picking it, you can't pick it with any traditional
Yeah,
lock picking tools.
yeah.
So combination dial, a keyed lock. There's a seismic sensor that senses any vibration. So if you were to try and like drill through it, those vibrations would be sensed and an alarm goes off.
Yes.
Behind this door, if you get the door open, there's a separate locked steel grate,
Yep.
and there's a magnetic sensor
With a different key.
Yes. A magnetic sensor or a pair of magnetic sensors on one on the vault door and one on the wall next to the door.
Yep.
So if this magnetic field changes, as in if you pull the door open and these sensors are no longer parallel to each other, an alarm goes off.
Right. It's how a lot of contemporary security systems work today. You get a little wireless thing,
Right.
and you put one side on the top of your or on the bottom of your window and one on the actual window itself. And if someone opens the window,
Right.
that magnetic seal breaks and it sets off the alarm.
And then there's also a camera, a security camera focused on the door at all times.
Yeah, and the way that like envision it this way, there's like when they talk about the door, it's like there's a lobby to the vault and then there's the vault itself. And in the lobby you're faced with all of these things, including there was also a light sensor in the vault too. Or excuse me, in the lobby of the vault.
Mm-hmm.
And then so it's just like you have to get through all of this shit just
to get to the door.
Just to get to the door.
Yeah.
Or through the door, I guess, as well.
So if you open the door and the grate behind the door and actually get into the vault, there is then a light sensor that if any lights are turned on, it will set off an alarm. There's another camera or I'm assuming several cameras. It is covered by security cameras, and there is a heat/motion sensor. So if that is sensitive enough that someone's body heat being in the room
Would raise
the ambient temperature enough to set off the sensor, set off an alarm.
Yep.
So really, any way that someone would enter this vault, if these alarms are activated or armed, you're fucked.
Yep.
If you move, even if you stand still,
Yep.
if there's any lights, anything, any vibrations, anything, alarms are going off. So he turns these photos back to the dealer.
He says, "Good luck, fucko."
And he says, look, it's impossible. I'll take my money. See you later. And he doesn't hear from him for several months. The next time he hears from him, he brings him to a warehouse and shows him an exact replica of the vault and the vault door and the vault lobby that he has built inside of a warehouse. Including everything is to scale. He's got the same sensors, everything.
So is it too early to call questions of this dude's story?
No, go ahead.
Well, I just like
This seems highly improbable
this
or highly difficult.
I mean, this literally is the plot to Ocean's 11 at this point.
Yeah.
They recreated the vault so they could practice the crime in the vault.
Let me give you one counter argument to your skepticism, though.
Yes.
they fucking did it somehow.
Well,
It worked somehow.
for sure.
So,
But I have a theory about that too.
okay. Well, let's keep going
But
for now.
yes.
So he shows him this replica, and he also shows him or introduces him to a team that he's put together that has been practicing breaking into this replica vault in this warehouse for several months.
Yep.
And it's 4 other guys who have really cool, very Mission Impossible-esque nicknames.
And he says they only spoke of each other in nicknames, so they didn't have to know who each other really were.
I mean, probably smart.
yeah. Particularly if you're being introduced to people you've never worked with before.
We have
You can't snitch that way.
the monster, who was an expert lockpicker, electrician, mechanic, and driver, and was apparently just a big motherfucker.
Good for him.
We have
Solidarity.
the genius, who apparently was an expert in all types of alarm systems.
Yerp.
The king of keys, who was a man
Fantastic.
Notar Bartolo says was probably in his mid to late 60s and was an expert in lockpicking, key fabrication, reproduction, anything to do with keys and locks.
Yep.
And then Leonardo brought on his buddy Speedy to be their driver, essentially.
Significantly less cool name.
Yep. Not a great one.
I feel like when you add a guy named Speedy, and I just envision some derp into like a propeller hat. Just
Well-
like, hey guys, are we gonna rob the store or what?
Spoiler, this guy did eventually fuck up their plan.
Yep.
So they've got this team of 5. Leonardo, Speedy, plus these other 3 guys.
Yeah.
And this dealer and the other 3 guys that he's assembled convince Leonardo that they can actually pull this off.
Yep.
So this is, we don't know exact dates, late 2001, early 2002,
Yep.
that he's shown this replica and convinced, yeah, we should actually give this a shot. We can do it.
Yep.
In September of 2002, Leonardo plants another tiny digital camera above the vault door. I don't know how he manages to do this. If it's as simple as like he's walking in one day and like brushes his hand across the ceiling, or we don't know. He doesn't specify.
Another thing I have questions about.
Sure.
Just for what it's worth.
Yep. I mean, I think you're right to question most parts of the story because they're coming entirely from one guy who's in jail
Right,
for
right.
lying. And
Right.
he starts the interview by saying, I am a thief and a liar, but what I'm about to tell you is true.
Doesn't he say I'm a thief and a liar and an Italian or something like that?
I think you're just making things up about Italians.
No. I swear to God, that was part of his like he was doing like a
real
wink
racist
thing.
against Italians right now.
I know I have to find it so I don't get fucking shitted on. I swear he said something like that. All right.
Anyway,
whatever.
In September of 2002, he plants this camera above the vault door, pointed down at the dial.
Oh.
So that, did you find the quote?
I found what I thought was what it was.
And?
Never mind.
No. Now you gotta read it.
Okay, I've been using this text to speech app to put articles into like a text to speech thing and then listen to them while I'm doing something else.
Oh, gotcha.
And I put
Instead
this
of
article
sitting and reading a long article, you listen to it?
exactly.
Okay.
And I did that with this article. And he says, I may be a thief and a liar, he says in a beguiling Italian accented French, but I'm going to tell you a true story. And I think I had it on 2x speed.
Yeah,
and
Italians do lie.
I thought it was I may be a thief and a liar and I may be Italian or something like that, but I'm going to tell you a true story. I was doing the dishes, man. I don't know. Fuck you guys. I'm going home.
In 2002, he plants his camera above the door, pointed down at the dial, so that they can capture images of someone opening the dial so they can get the code, the number combination.
100 million options. You need the code. You need
there's no other way.
You need that.
This apparently works. It's some very elaborate, like the camera was transmitting to a hard drive in a fake fire extinguisher in a utility closet or something.
Which is just outrageous.
Just some extra over the top spy shit. You could have just taken pictures, but whatever.
Yeah.
They then wait until about 5 months until February of 2003 to actually try and pull this off. And they chose the date of Saturday, February 15th to actually do it for a couple of reasons.
Yep.
The first being that on Thursday, February 13th, there was a shipment from De Beers into Antwerp, and specifically into the vault at Antwerp Diamond Center. So that following weekend, everybody's stash would have been
plentiful.
Flush. Right. It was the most, I guess just the most diamonds that were going to be for the foreseeable future in this location.
It's like in Ocean's 11 when there's going to be a boxing match and they want to rob it while there's a bunch of people who are betting on boxing.
I don't know if I've ever even seen that whole movie. I should probably.
Oh my God, bro. You get to watch Brad Pitt eat for like an hour and a half.
Pardon?
This is a friend of the show.
Like literally eating the whole movie?
No. This is friend of the show.
His performance was dope. Brad Pitt was eating.
No. This is friend of the show and guest on the Patreon. If you haven't listened to our paid show, Nick Mested's take, which is, look, man, the whole bit is that Brad Pitt is eating in almost every scene in the movie. He's like eating like French fries or like he's got nachos or whatever.
What a weird thing.
It is a weird thing, and he's like,
my man was just hungry for the entire like 3 months they worked on that movie.
Yeah, and his joke has always been, come on, bro, tell me you don't want to just watch a movie where Brad Pitt is going to eat for 2 hours. Like, that's a great movie. And I think that's such a fire take. It is a ridiculous take, and I fully support it.
Anyway, so on Thursday, it's Diamond.
I've seen a movie, Spencer hasn't.
I think I have.
Eat my shorts.
Eat pants.
Eat pants.
I think I have. It's just either been like, I think I saw it on TV. Or like I saw it at the...
you mean because it's on TNT every 45 minutes?
So like I don't know if I've seen it start to finish or if I've seen it all at some point, but not all in one sitting. Sure. Whatever.
I got you.
Anyway, so Thursday the 13th was Diamond Payday. They're flush. On Friday, Leonardo goes to the vault to access, or under the guise of accessing, his safe deposit box. When he's in there by himself momentarily, he pulls out of his coat pocket a can of hairspray.
Yep.
And sprays it over the heat and movement sensor inside the vault.
Yes.
Which he believes the coating, the residue of the hairspray over the sensor will be enough insulation to essentially deactivate the heat sensor part of that sensor.
Yeah, it clogs it. I think the theory was there's enough silicone in hairspray that essentially creates a silicone barrier. I mean, you use silicone to take like shit out of the oven, right? If you put that over a heat sensor, there's even a thin, couple millimeters layer of that would be enough to buy you more time.
Right, because we're talking about very minor fluctuations in ambient temperature. Like one person being in a room, their body heat is going to raise the room temperature, a small fraction of a degree.
Right.
Over the course of an hour or something.
Right. So if you can prevent that, well, and also not to get too far ahead of ourselves, but also they needed it to do its job just long enough for them to get in there and cover it up.
Deactivate the sensors, essentially.
Deactivate and then cover them up fully.
Right. So they were only really trying to buy themselves a few minutes.
Right.
Yeah. So he does that on Friday. They choose to actually do the heist on Saturday, knowing that everything will be closed, no one's working. They probably have until Monday morning before anyone else is going to be in the vault again.
Just to clarify, it was Friday night into Saturday morning, right?
Yes. So they set their heist o'clock was
Heist o'clock. Put it on the list, dude.
was
Put it on the
midnight of Friday night / Saturday morning.
Yes.
To give themselves the most possible time before anyone would be in the vault again. Because no one's working Saturday or Sunday, likely. Saturday for sure, likely Sunday.
Yep.
So if they're out of there by Saturday morning, they have minimum 24 hours.
Before anybody
more
notices.
like 48 probably before anyone would even notice that anything was missing.
Right.
So on midnight, Saturday, February 13th, 15th, 2003, they pull off this heist.
Dum, 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 dum.
I mean,
dum,
yes,
dum, dum.
very much, yes. The 5 of them pull up in a rented car.
Gotta.
And, well,
I know.
whatever.
You gotta rent
Whatever.
it. You gotta rent it, but you can't have the plates on it.
Do you have to rent it? You can't find a car that's like not under any sort of title, or you can't like pay cash for a car somewhere or something.
I don't know. I mean, yeah, if you can afford to buy fucking crazy pen
They're
shirt
fucking
technology,
diamond dealers. Like,
yeah,
what?
you should.
They have money.
You should go to the countryside and you should give someone $500 for a car that
You should have someone else do that for you.
You should have someone go to the countryside and
Yeah.
get you a $500 cash car. No,
Yeah.
I agree. But fucking whatever.
Instead of having to return a rental car on Monday morning.
No, for sure. Yeah.
Anyway,
No, it was a good trip. We had fun.
You got to put a credit card down for that, right?
I didn't have a chance to put gas in it. I'm sorry. I was
I'll pay
really busy.
I'll
Oh,
pay the
God.
$38 a gallon. Anyway, they pull up and they had identified this private courtyard in the back of the building as their point of entry because they somehow determined that it was not covered by the security cameras. So in addition to all the individual buildings having security cameras, there are like dozens of, I guess, public security cameras throughout the district, or not public, but like
Yeah.
in public location security cameras.
It's like when you're in London, you're like probably on camera in the streets because they
Yeah.
got basically like CCTV throughout the entire city.
Yeah, I guess like most major cities probably do some version of this
Right.
now, at least in like downtown areas. But so they found this courtyard in the back of the building that they somehow concluded was not visible on any security cameras. And one of them earlier in the week went back there and hid a ladder so that they could climb up to this second story terrace and enter through a window on this terrace.
Now, at this moment, I would like to say, I feel like if you're a dude walking through the Diamond District with a ladder and you're like throwing it into a garden, I feel like that would cast some suspicions.
Well,
Hey, dude, what are you doing?
it could be as simple as like Leonardo had an office in this building. He brings a ladder into his office one day and then like drops it off in the courtyard when he's leaving work.
I
It wouldn't have
guess.
to be that suspicious.
I guess it just seems
Or
like
they found one in a utility closet in the building and just brought it
out there
outside
at night or whatever. Yeah, that's
it wouldn't
real,
have
that's
to be
real.
that crazy. So anyway, they bring everything in, get everybody in the building through this ladder up to the second floor terrace. And even on the windows and on like all the exterior parts of the building, there are security sensors of different kinds.
Yes.
And on the terrace itself, there is another like heat sensor. And one of the guys, I believe the monster, knew this, anticipated this, and he brings this shield with him that it's made out of like some sort of polyester, I guess.
Yeah, I got the impression it was like a big. I didn't get the impression it was I thought it was a motion sensor, not a heat sensor.
I believe it was heat because, I mean, motion. I don't know how you trick a motion sensor. I thought the idea was he had this polyester shield that is not conductive. So you essentially hide behind it as you approach this sensor.
Got it.
Your body heat does not reach the sensor. and then he places the shield in front of the sensor so that their body heat,
doesn't get near
all
it.
of their body heat is not able to reach the sensor. It's deflected off of this polyester shield.
Got it.
So that they don't trip this body heat sensor outside.
I was thinking of it as more like a motion sensor where they were just basically holding up this big, thick, one color sheet in front of them, and that it wouldn't be enough to like disturb the imagery or the background for it to.
I believe it was heat, and one of them went up first, blocking his own body heat with the shield, and then just placed this shield in front of the sensor, and then the rest of them
and then
came
it was
up.
like, get in, motherfuckers, we gotta go.
Exactly. There was also a sensor on the window, like the one you were describing earlier, where there's two sensors. If they move apart from each other, it sets an alarm. They were able to just deactivate that somehow. I don't know if by just snipping a wire or what.
Sure.
And they all climb in through this window, drop down into a stairwell, down into the basement where the vault is.
Yep.
So another reason that they chose this specific entry point was that it was very near a stairwell that led directly to the basement to the vault, so they wouldn't have to move through other parts of the building.
Smart. Very smart. Grifting well.
They also brought a bunch of small black plastic bags with them and covered all of the security cameras before turning any of the lights on.
Yeah.
So by the time they were in and actually operating, all of the cameras were already just filming the inside of a black bag.
Yep.
They get down to the actual vault, to the door, and they then have to disable the magnetic sensor on the door.
Yep.
They have to enter the correct combination on the dial.
Yep.
They have to unlock the door.
With the key.
With the giant foot-long key. They have to pick the lock on the metal grate behind it.
Yep.
And then they're into the vault itself.
Yes.
The metal or the magnetic sensor on the door and on the wall, they came up with like a pretty ingenious plan for not deactivating it, but subverting it or
keeping it active and moving it out of their way.
Yeah, so they brought with them, they must have had like several bags worth of shit for all the supplies that they brought in.
But it has to have been.
They had this sheet of aluminum with them with really strong double-sided tape on both sides of it.
Yep.
So they put this aluminum sheet over both of the sensors while they're still on the door and on the wall next to the door. Adhere it to the two sensors, drill through the aluminum sheet to the bolts on the two sensors, unhook the two sensors from the wall, but now they're affixed to the back of this metal sheet of aluminum.
So they
haven't moved relative to each other.
They stay equidistant apart. Yep.
And then they just flip that aluminum sheet over and stick it to the wall next to the door.
Yep.
So these two sensors have not moved relative to each other, but now one of them is no longer on the door. They're just stuck to the wall next to each other.
It's brilliant.
Yeah.
Now, if I had been designing this vault, for what it's worth, I would have put those sensors inside the vault.
Fair.
Not outside the vault where they could be screwed with at all.
That is a very good point. If you're doing any of these things on your home, you don't put them outside.
Yeah. If it were inside the vault, you can't just open it and you can't get to them to be able to fuck with them.
Right.
Just seems like kind of a massive flaw, but
Also, to get to that point,
you got to do a lot of other shit.
A lot of other things would have had to fail, and even if you do disarm these things, there are still a lot of other things that would have to fail.
Totally agree. It just seems like it's those people's job to be like, oh, you know what we should do instead of having this out here.
So speaking of oversights,
yes,
their next step was they entered the code that they had acquired through the photographs on the dial on the door.
Yep.
They had to then unlock the door with this giant foot-long key that Keymaster guy had made a replica of.
Right.
However, he had a suspicion based on the photos and video that Leonardo had shared with him that it was stored somewhere unsecure, because whenever people would unlock the door, he would see them first go out of frame somewhere
and come right back with it
and grab this key. So he guessed based on these videos that out of frame somewhere was the fucking janitor's closet in the hallway next to the door, which they just picked the lock to, and the key was hanging on a hook inside the janitor's closet.
It's brilliant. It's so
Is it?
brilliant.
It's brilliant, or it's the dumbest shit ever.
No, it's the dumbest shit ever.
It's brilliant on their part to realize how simple it was.
That's the part that I meant was brilliant. It's like, it's brilliant that they were like, hey, let's just check this door real quick.
I bet it's just in here. Yeah.
Hey, there's a big foot-long fucking key. I
Right?
bet I know what that's for.
So they've disarmed the magnetic sensor. They've covered the security cameras and the light sensor outside. They have the key. They have the combination. They pop the vault door open.
Yep.
They then are able to just pick the lock on this metal grate behind it, and they're into the vault. They still have not turned on any lights in the building at this point because there's a light sensor outside of the vault in this like sort of vault lobby.
Yep.
And then there's another separate light sensor inside the vault.
For what it's worth, I got the impression, and I could be wrong, I got the impression that they had covered the light sensor in the lobby to be able to do all of that stuff they were doing.
You're right. They turned it back off before
Turned it
opening
back off
the door.
and then went in and stayed in the dark while they were figuring out the inside of the vault.
You are correct. So if they turn the lights off, enter the vault, and they had the vault memorized based on their replica of it.
In the warehouse.
Yeah, so they know where the sensors are. They know where everything is laid out inside this vault.
Right.
They cover the heat sensor.
Yep.
With a styrofoam box, basically, that they attach to the wall over it.
Wait, wasn't the first thing they didn't the monster go in and change the routing of the wires in the ceiling?
So, yes, I believe they did these. They covered the sensors first to buy themselves a little more time.
Got it.
So they cover the heat sensor. They cover the light sensor with just like black duct tape.
Yep.
And there was one other one that I can't remember right now. But before turning on any of the lights, whatever.
I think it was just heat motion light.
Yeah, heat and motion are one sensor combined.
Yep.
Right, okay. The monster dude walks into the middle of the room. He had pasted out hundreds of times in this replica room.
Yep.
Knows where this like electrical box on the ceiling is that all these alarms are routed through. Is able to access this electrical box and still in the dark strip the wires and reroute it so that no signal is actually leaving the room. It's just like a circuit back onto itself. So none of the alarms trip, but even if they did, it wouldn't send any signal outside of the room. It's just this little self-contained unit.
It just sends the electrical impulse from the out wire back to the in wire. And he had prefabricated a wire that was specifically like, apparently they had researched what it was going to be and knew what the current needed to be so that it could go through. Which
It's crazy
seems
though.
wild.
Even like stripping a wire in the dark would be really hard if you haven't practiced it a bunch of times. Also, he's doing
I've
this.
stripped wires multiple times in my life and clipped that wire no problem, like
and
very
he's doing
easily.
This totally in the dark, above his head, so like it even feels unnatural.
Right.
And then he's splicing wires back together as well, and
Yeah.
it obviously has to be the correct ones.
Yeah, and you're sweating and fucking and I think like that's one of the wildest things about this story is there are so many things that could have gone wrong.
So many variables.
So many things that should have gone wrong.
Yeah, and almost none of them did.
Right.
But still enough did.
Well, one particular.
They now are in the vault. The alarms are disabled. They're operating in the dark, I guess just to be safe.
Which I kind of get. Like, you're like, we're pretty sure we stopped those signals from going out, and we're pretty sure that like putting
Those
tape over
cameras-
that thing isn't gonna fucking trigger the light. But
So they're operating totally in the dark. They made a custom hand drill to pop open the safe deposit boxes.
they didn't want the sound of a power drill,
Well, they were worried about the vibrations,
and they didn't want the
too.
vibrations to hit the vibration sensor or the seismic reader,
whatever. Yeah. So this hand drill could pop open one of these safe deposit boxes in about 3 minutes of drilling. So they're just going through from box to box to box, popping one open, emptying it into a bag, turning a flashlight on for a second to find the next one, popping it open, emptying it, and they repeat this for hours.
And we're talking about inside here. It's like, yes, we're in the diamond district, but it wasn't just diamonds. Yes, it was a lot of diamonds of all sizes, but there was cash of a bunch of different denominations.
You're buying and selling, so you need cash on hand as well, or you're receiving cash in exchange for gems.
Yep. There was jewelry with diamonds in it, so you've got like bracelets and necklaces and watches and all kinds of shit. So like, yes, it's the diamond district, but like there's all kinds of goodies in this motherfucker.
So they end up popping open and emptying, I think it was 108 or 109 out of the 180 safe deposit boxes in the vault. At about 5:30, they know that AM, they know they have to call it because they want to get out of there before it's light outside.
Yep. And they got to drive away in a fucking rental car with fucking cargo bags over their shoulders.
And they have to load all this stuff out in the dark, back through this window, down a ladder, out to the street. So they're taking multiple trips to load this shit out, knowing each time you're susceptible to someone seeing you or to you making noise or to you setting off one of the multiple alarms.
Dicey.
So they call it at about 5:30. They load everything out by about 6:30. Just as the sun's coming up, they get out of there. No one notices that anything is wrong. None of the alarms are tripped, nothing until Monday morning when people come into work, see the door open and see stuff strewn everywhere.
One of the articles I read said that it was like a complete pandemonium for people in the building. They were like crying and like fainting.
I mean, they estimated that they got away with about $100 million worth of shit.
Yeah.
In 2003. So whatever inflation
that
does
inflates
to
to today. Yeah.
They even called their security company and said, "Hey, what the fuck?" And they're like, "What are you talking about?"
Everything's still working from our end.
48 hours later, all of their readings on all of the alarms, all of the sensors were still normal.
Nothing had been tripped. Yep.
Crazy.
So
the five guys go back to Leonardo's apartment and they start looking through their haul. And they've got millions in cash of a bunch of different currencies.
Yep.
They have rough diamonds. They have loose diamonds. They have jewelry.
And they're looking to consolidate everything and then travel to Milan, right? They were going to go to Milan.
They had to meet up with their dealer to give the dude who like organized this whole thing to give him his cut and then divvy up the rest.
Right.
But as they're going through all this stuff in Leonardo's apartment, there were these black satchels that were what the rough diamonds were delivered by De Beers in to the dealers.
Right.
Which is the primary thing that they were after in this whole heist. That was the majority of the value that they were going to get.
Right.
It was the reason that they timed it that weekend because they knew that they were going to be there.
Right.
They bring all these satchels back to the apartment.
Right.
Open them up for the first time there because they couldn't see anything in the vault because it was pitch black.
Right.
And all these satchels are empty. So 80% of what they thought they had stolen wasn't actually there. They thought they were getting away with about 100 million in value. They got closer to 20.
Now, according
to Leonardo.
Yeah,
he is the only source for this.
So I totally understand, like, you're in a rush, you're moving, you're grabbing leather, you're throwing it into bags, whatever. But if 8 out of every 10 bags out of 100 plus bags that you pulled out of these, or whatever, but like, I'm just spitballing here, but like
100 boxes that were emptied into bags. Yeah. 100 plus.
If 8 out of 10 of those bags that you pulled had nothing in them, you didn't feel that? You couldn't possibly shake that thing and go, there's not a single stone in here? You couldn't squeeze it and go...
If it's like a heavy briefcase, are you going to notice the like several ounces different of...
See, I'm thinking more like it's like a DOP kit. It's like a 6x10 leather.
I guess I don't know. I didn't see images of them, at least.
The only thing I saw images of was the size of like the actual boxes that they drilled, and the boxes themselves aren't that big. They're not briefcase sized boxes.
Okay.
So I'm thinking like, again, I don't know.
I feel you, but also I could see it.
I could see it.
You're in the complete dark. It's the most like high stress situation of your life, probably.
Yeah.
You're on a very strict deadline.
Yeah.
You don't have time to be worrying about that shit. Even if you do pick one up and you'll be like, that's not what I thought this would feel like. You haven't felt one before.
Right.
And what are you going to do?
Right. You're just going to keep going until, yeah.
You can't, there's no one to call. There's no one to tell, like, hey, this feels weird. You can't flip on the light and be like, yeah, this is empty.
Right.
I don't even know if they would have been able to open them at the time.
I just feel like I would have maybe been like shake it a couple times and like
right, but
you
I'm
would
saying,
feel raw diamonds, particularly if we're talking about.
Are they loose in there though? I wouldn't pack diamonds just loose, bouncing off of each other inside a satchel.
I mean, it's the hardest thing. They're not going to hurt each other.
Oh, I don't know. Whatever.
I guess all I'm trying to say is this is another one of those moments in Leonardo's story where I had a moment where I was like,
bullshit. Yeah. I feel you.
You went through 6 hours of deconstructing a vault and pulling these leather things. Didn't think a single thing about it. So you go back to your apartment and you went, "Oh my God, we only have $20 million instead of $100 million."
He also claims that he was not actually in there. He was waiting outside this whole time.
Yeah, he said he drove.
Yeah.
Yes.
I feel you. There are definitely parts of this story that are suspicious.
Yeah.
This is one of them.
Yeah.
I also could see a scenario in which that would happen.
Yes. Agreed.
If you add up all of these scenarios,
there's some issues here.
I think the odds of this happening exactly the way he's describing it are probably pretty low.
Yes.
But this one doesn't stick out the most to me, I guess.
Well, okay. We'll get there.
I mean, we can disagree on that too, obviously.
No.
But
I think the I guess my only caveat to that, and we can get to this later at the end though, is like it behooves him in this story to say that they got less than they got.
Absolutely. So they get roughly 20 million worth of cash, jewelry, some diamonds, and they go to meet up with this dealer who organized the whole thing. And he never shows.
Yep.
And so they're left with this 20 million to divide amongst the five of them.
Yep.
Which apparently they did.
Not bad for a night's work.
Yeah.
I'll take $4 million for a stressful night.
Approximately each, assuming it's being split evenly.
Yep.
Leonardo and Speedy, his buddy, who was the driver, although not on the actual heist, he was not the driver. I don't really understand what this dude's role was.
He was in the vault. Speedy was in the vault.
Why? What was his skill? Was apparently like getaway guy.
I mean, he might have been like carrying bags or like,
yeah,
I don't know.
So anyway, Leonardo and Speedy are going back to Italy on, I think the next day on Sunday with their cut of the $20 million worth of stuff.
Right.
And with a bag or several bags of evidence, essentially.
Yeah.
They have receipts from purchases that they made for equipment. They have videotape that they pulled from
the vault.
The vault and from the building.
Yep.
They have...
It seems to be like...
They all wore gloves during the actual break-in, so they have the gloves. And their plan is to somewhere during this 10-hour drive from Antwerp back to... I don't know where in Italy.
I thought it was Milan.
Okay. They're going to pull off in some remote area and just burn this stuff.
Yep.
Because it's apparently the only evidence of this crime that exists.
Yes.
So they do that. They stop and they pull off in this really remote area. They're going to find a spot to burn these couple bags of trash. They're going to be good to go.
Yep.
Speedy's driving. He pulls over. Leonardo gets out to find a specific location to actually burn this stuff,
right,
where they're not going to burn down anything else
or make like a bunch of fucking smoke
super
and
obvious,
fire where everyone's like, what the fuck's going on in the hills right there? Yeah.
He finds a spot, comes back to the car, and when he comes back, Speedy is like tossing this shit out of the bags everywhere. He's having like a full-on panic attack / break from reality.
Speedy.
None of them have slept in at least 2 days at this point.
Too speedy, bro.
And this dude has lost it. He's paranoid. He's sleep deprived, and he's speedy, just like throwing this shit all willy-nilly into the woods. Apparently, there's also like loose gems and money and stuff in some of these bags,
which also, for what it's worth, makes no sense to me.
Totally agree. Unless there were like trash bags and then also loot bags in the car, and he grabbed both maybe
and just fucked it up or something.
Yeah, or like he was
But even that sounds
so
so outrageous to
or
me.
he was so far gone that he was just grabbing shit and throwing it regardless of what it was. I don't know.
Yeah.
So they pick up the valuable stuff as much as they can.
Yeah.
And this other trash and tape and everything is just strewn all throughout this wooded area.
Yep.
They decide to just leave it. Like, fuck it, we're in the middle of nowhere. No one's going to know what this stuff is. It's all over the place. None of it's really tied to us anyway.
It'll deteriorate in a couple months. We're fine.
Let's just leave it.
Yep.
Unfortunately for them, the person whose property they were on had issues with people dumping shit on his property.
Right.
He sees it a couple days later. He calls the police
Right.
to say, hey, these fuckers are dumping trash on my property again. Can you please do something about it?
Right.
And he happens to describe some of the things that he's found in this trash, one of which is a bunch of envelopes labeled
Antwerp Diamond Center.
Yes. At this point, the authorities are well aware that $100 million worth of shit got stolen out of the Antwerp Diamond Center over the weekend.
Right.
And they come out to his property ASAP.
And go get all that shit.
In that shit, they find a receipt in Leonardo's name. They find a business card of, it was one of the other guys. It was either the monster or not the key guy. Who was the other dude?
I can't remember. You had all the names. Everything that I read didn't have good names in it.
Oh, the Wired article had the actual guys' names in it because 4 out of the 5 of them have been arrested.
Yes.
Anyway, it was Elio Denario, aka the Genius, had one of his fucking business cards in this trash bag.
Yep.
So the authorities decide that that's enough to get a search warrant for Leonardo's apartment.
Yep.
Or he had an apartment in Antwerp in addition to his office.
Yep.
They also got a search warrant for his home in Italy.
Mm-hmm.
He gets back to Italy, decides to go back to Antwerp with his wife by like Monday or Tuesday morning to say like he thought it would be suspicious if all this shit got stolen and then he didn't show up for a week. That would make him a suspect, right? So his plan was to walk back in on Monday or Tuesday like he's just showing up for work, doesn't know what happened.
Yep.
While he's driving back to Belgium, the authorities show up at his house in Italy. He's not there. He walks into the Diamond Center on Monday morning. The authorities are aware. The security personnel at the building call the authorities. They show up.
Could you come with us, sir?
They go back to his apartment. And at his apartment, they find a whole bunch of other stuff.
SIM cards of like pings to towers back and forth. Pretty much they were the SIM cards that they only used to talk to each other, which was smart to have SIMs that they only plugged in and used for those calls.
Dumb to not destroy them immediately.
Dumb to not literally. You could have broken them in half on your way out of the fucking apartment and they would have been useless.
You could have put them in those trash bags even and they would have been better off. Why hold on to them?
You could have stood outside and smoked a cigarette and held a lighter to each one individually and they would have been gone.
So, and they also found like his relatives were carrying out a rolled up carpet and they vacuumed the carpet and pulled gemstones out of it.
Which is, that's just disrespectful.
So
that's
reckless.
just sloppy, yo.
So reckless.
That's just sloppy.
They also found a grocery receipt.
Yeah.
From one of the other guys that had a timestamp on it, like a time and date attached to it. They went back to the grocery, had the grocery pull their security footage and found footage of this dude checking out of this grocery at that date, at that time.
Yeah.
Buying the stuff that was then found in Leonardo's apartment, tied all of them together.
Yeah.
Everyone except the keymaster, the old guy. So 4 out of the 5 of them were arrested.
Yep.
Leonardo ended up serving, he got out in 2009. Originally on parole.
He got sentenced to 10 years. He was supposed
got out
to
after 6.
Then he went out on parole and then violated his parole for not participating in restitution for the people that he took stuff from. And because of that, they sent him back to jail.
He got out for
and
good in 2017.
The rest of it. Yep.
So he is now free. He had the longest sentence at 10 years for like organizing the whole thing.
Yeah.
I think the rest of the guys got between 3 and 5 years, I think.
Exactly. Now, this is a very important part of this grift that I need to like talk about really quickly.
Before you get to that,
Yes.
none of the actual loot has been found.
They have not recovered any outside of the diamonds they vacuumed. And there was like 17 individual diamonds in a safe in Leonardo's apartment.
Yeah.
They have not gotten back any of the money or any of the other jewelry or any of the other loose diamonds.
Whether
from
it was
the
20
heist.
million or 100 million, they haven't found shit.
Yes. Which is awesome.
Which is also crazy that you can send 4 people to jail without actually having the stuff that got
evidence that
stolen.
yes.
Yeah. I mean, you have evidence, but you don't have the actual stuff.
Right. It's like you killed somebody, but you don't have a body. It's like,
Right.
well,
But you're sending 4 people to jail for murder.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, if you told me tomorrow that in the United States, the maximum you could give me for robbing a fucking diamond vault of
potentially
$100
$100
million is 5 years.
Well, you got 10.
Well, for some of the other ones for their roles, which also I don't understand, is like because they weren't orchestrators, they got 5.
Sign me up.
Regardless, bro, I'm sitting here going like, oh yeah, bro.
Yeah.
I'd be the first one in line.
Yeah.
I'd be like, oh, if we do this right, and my worst penalty is
Also,
5
I love
years.
that none of them snitched on the old guy.
That's so hard, bro.
And none of them snitched on each other either, to be fair.
Yeah,
they were all
found
arrested
it all be the
independently.
Sims.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, man, if you're telling me that fucking $100 million robberies and like no violent crimes, like they didn't fucking
Very smart and ethical on their part.
yeah, they didn't pull any guns on anybody. They didn't threaten any security guards or kidnap anybody
Didn't
or
need to.
nothing. They just snuck in, snuck out. But if you're telling me I could sneak in and sneak out and the worst thing that could happen to me is 3 to 5 years, shit, I'd be a career criminal too.
Well,
I guess I'm moving to Milan,
what do you think
bro.
Leonardo's doing right now in 2019, being a free
Shit.
man for 2 years?
Being not only is he being a free man, he's probably off somewhere being rich because that
Yeah.
shit went somewhere, and they all
Yeah.
have that money somewhere.
So the hypothesis to potentially explain the 20 million versus $100 million discrepancy,
Yes,
as
that-
well as the bags being empty discrepancy,
Yes,
is that Leonardo and company may have gotten played essentially as part of an insurance fraud scheme. So the dealer that contacted them initially may have been perpetrating a insurance fraud in the sense of he knew that there was going to be this shipment coming in
yes,
valued at $100 million.
yes,
He organized for it to be stolen, but before it was stolen, he and the other dealers who had their stuff stashed in that vault removed it, claimed $80 million in losses for insurance purposes,
yep,
but actually had possession of that $80 million worth of diamonds
right,
that they claimed were stolen and that they then sold through less legal means later on.
right.
So they could collect the insurance money, but then also still maintain possession of those diamonds.
Right.
That is what Leonardo
Claims is true.
claims happened.
The flip side of that coin is they actually did get all $100 million, and that one or many of the guys before they were arrested were able to put that stuff in safekeeping elsewhere with other people, and every one of these dudes was well enough and of an age where it was like, I'll do my 5, I'll do my 10, and I'll walk out the flip side, and I'll have made a fucking $1 million a year.
I got 25 million sitting somewhere.
I would probably go to jail for 10 years for fucking $2.5 million a year and come out the other side like set for life in a very extra crazy way.
Yeah.
And
Well, it's crazy because a lot of these, or Leonardo at least, was set before.
right. Well, yeah.
I mean, this dude must have had millions of dollars before he pulled this off.
I mean, I haven't seen anything that's like too specific about it, but he seems
haven't
to
either,
have
but-
been like in a pretty decent place, and this was like his potentially his last hurrah to really send it home.
Pretty light speculation. I think it's safe to assume that he was doing fine before this. So there's also a third theory.
Yes.
That Leonardo is tied to the Italian mob.
Sure.
And that this was actually done this was an Italian mob job.
Right. And they were going to get paid out well for their roles in it, but that the mob was going to bankroll it and they were going to get a bunch of money back from it.
And Leonardo is covering for them.
Yes.
And the connection being his cousin is allegedly the head of the Italian mob.
Yes.
There's no way to verify any of these three theories.
Right.
But they all seem somewhat plausible.
Yeah. I mean, all plausible in their own rights. I think any one of those could happen. The one thing that I find the most interesting is not the most interesting, but I find to be the most causes me to ponder the most is it seems like with a lot of it almost seems like the execution of this crime as explained by Leonardo is too good to be true. We planted a camera that read the code for the door.
And yet it worked.
Well, right.
If they don't have assuming that his story is correct, which the little evidence we have points to it being correct. If they don't have the trash bag slip up,
right, they get away with this free. Yeah, for sure.
Probably ever.
Totally. I think the point that I was trying to make is though that it seems like they may have had more help than he alludes to.
Yeah.
Somebody maybe gave you that code. Somebody maybe told you there was a footlong key in the janitor's closet next to the safe. Somebody may have told you, here's when the best time to go in and out is. Somebody may have told you, here's where the heat sensor is on the window above the,
versus this full-scale replica in a warehouse shit.
Yeah.
The Ocean's 11 aspects of this story.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Which, for what it's worth, Ocean's 11 came out after they did this, and he tells a very Ocean...
I thought you said it was 01.
Well, right, but I mean,
after this plan was hatched.
And or before this interview came out, so he very well could have seen Ocean's 11 at any given point leading up to this Wired interview and told elements of it that, again, mirror that story pretty well, while also being maybe we didn't have a replica of this. Maybe we had somebody who was hey, there are going to be guards looking at the cameras that night. So fucking go nuts and turn the lights on all you want.
I am the guard who's supposed to be looking at it that night. And if you throw me $100,000, I won't.
I don't give a shit. Exactly. Yeah. It feels more to me like that has to be what happened than every single sensor, every wire, everything done in the dark, every heat sensor, every single thing was perfectly deactivated and perfectly fine and didn't cause any issues or trigger anything. I don't know. The other thing too that I think is worth talking about is there are insinuations in specific cultures that when official stories roll out about how things happened, official bodies want to potentially cover up any official fuck ups or participations in.
Yeah.
So if
ethical fuck ups.
Yeah, exactly. So if the Belgian police are oh, somebody got bought out to not respond to that thing or to respond and not get there for 4 hours or whatever. The better
story is that the perfect crime was committed.
They fucking nailed everything. They threaded every single needle in a 75 needle fucking domino chain.
Yeah.
And got away scot-free except for these fucking trash bags.
You know what? Either way, they did it.
It's amazing. I know.
Whether they paid people off or not.
No,
they still pulled that shit off until the one fucking guy dumped his trash in the wrong dude's yard.
And I'm not detracting from that at all. I think for me, it's just that helps me point to the why and how this happened and potentially
it may not be quite as
what the outcome was.
Yeah, miraculous as it seems on paper.
But still, the reality of the situation most likely is that 4 to 5 guys served a cumulative total of
less
30
than 20
years in
not
prison.
Even. Yeah, not even.
Well, three of them got 3 to 5,
and one got 10. And only because he fucked up, he only originally got 6.
Yes.
And then he didn't want to pay people back.
Yeah, what a dick. So you all served 25 years in prison, and y'all got paid $100 million to do that?
Yeah. And the old guy got away for free.
And the old guy is out
God
somewhere drinking fucking martinis and
probably passed on by now, but I bet he had a great last 15 years of his life.
Oh, tops, bro. The best you can get. The best you can get.
You know what? God bless those wily bastards.
Hey, God bless.
You're stealing from people who are basically like, is there a less ethical?
Literally just gonna say.
Is there a less ethical way in the first place to make money than the fucking diamond trade?
I mean,
like,
it's
go get fucked if that's how you're making your millions anyway. You deserve to have that shit stolen.
And here's the thing. I'm gonna read a quick passage from the end of that Wired article really quickly to kind of culminate things. It says, quote, if Norda Bartolo's insurance scam theory is correct, it went down like this. The dealers who were in on it, so as in the diamond dealers in the building, were in on it and removed their goods, both legal and illegal, from the vault before the heist. And then all of them filed claims on their legitimate gems. Denise Oliver, the adjuster who investigated the robbery for insurers, calls this the double whammy. These dealers would have gotten the insurance payouts and kept their stock. The $20 million found by the thieves belonged to traders who were not in on the scam. Or there was no insurance scam, and the thieves actually found $100 million in the vault, and Norda Bartolo has spun a story to cloud the true origins of the heist. Now, even if that was the case, that they found the $100 million, those people who had their stuff stolen probably still had it insured. So an insurance company either paid $100 million for $100 million of missing goods.
There should be a record of that, though.
What do you mean?
Those payouts, right? You'd think somebody would have.
Well, it depends on how much you had to prove was in there or whatever. Yeah. You might have only been able to prove so much was in there or whatever. But it's either that or they just paid for whatever was insured in there, and then the people who got hit are fucking diamond sellers. Yeah. This is my definition of a good grift.
Yeah, it's a great one.
They didn't murder anybody. They didn't traumatize any bank tellers. They didn't kidnap anybody.
Unethical businessmen.
They snuck in through a window and they ripped off some insurance companies and some extra fucking super duper rich people. That's the fucking best. And they didn't even do like hard time for it. This shit is awesome. I live for this shit. I don't recommend anyone do this, but also I love hearing about it when it happens.
God bless.
God bless you. Hey, it's the What If Podcast. Thank y'all for listening. We've got another episode this week, and we actually have another episode every week. If you go to patreon.com/whatifpodcast, there is a paid episode for just $5 a month. You get an extra episode every week, plus access to a back catalog of over 100 episodes of the show you've never heard before if you've never been in there.
Gosh dang.
Go to shop.whatifpodcast.com if you want to buy swag. We got shirts. You can buy shout-outs on the show. We'll talk about your shit. If you want to send us an email, it's hi@whatifpodcast.com. Voicemails are 612-246-4614.
We out of here.
Leave us a review on iTunes. We love you. Bye.